month, Saving Water, Saving Money. We're very excited to be here with Melissa Bomar of City of Tempe and also Jennifer Davidson with Scottsdale Water, Water Use It Wisely. And with that, I will turn it over to you ladies.
Thank you. Good morning. First, let's start off with what is Water Use It Wisely? Water Use It Wisely is a 19-partner collaboration, and we are a group of municipal water providers along with private water providers and some other agencies such as the Arizona Department of Water Resources, the Arizona Municipal Water Users Association, Central Arizona Project, and Salt River Project. So what we do is work together to help people save water. Our website, wateruseitwisely.com, has many water-saving tips and advice. You can also sign up for a newsletter to receive information to your inbox. And right now we have over 20,000 subscribers to our newsletter. We also have an impressive social media following. So be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. So let's start with a poll question. On average, how many gallons of water is used per person per day in the valley? The answer is 120 gallons. On average, 120 gallons is used per person per day. And you can see that represented in our water tower. Next, important to know about water is where we get our water in the valley. So we receive about 7 to 8 inches of rain per year. If you compare that to other cities such as New York or Chicago, they receive somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 to 42 inches. So it's a big difference. So it's really important that we save our water and use it wisely. Our water gets to the valley through surface water, through canals and reservoirs from CAP and SRP. We also have groundwater pumped from wells, and we also reclaim our water. Many of the water providers will reclaim the sewer water, treat it, and put it back into the ground as reclaimed water, or we'll use it for irrigation water. The next step into saving water is understanding your water bill. And Phoenix measures in CCFs, while most other water providers measure in gallons or kgals. And Melissa will cover that in just a few minutes. First of all, look at your bill and look at the usage. This particular example shows last year and the year prior. So you can see how you're doing in comparison to how you've done in the past. Now this can help you look for a leak if there's a spike. But if you have an ongoing high level of water use, this isn't going to tell you because it's already wrapped up into the graph. Now I'll give it to Melissa to explain to you your bill.
All right, thanks, Jennifer. As Jennifer previously mentioned, you'll want to look at your water bill to determine if your water usage is calculated in CCFs or in kgals. You might be wondering, what exactly is a CCF? CCF stands for centum cubic feet, which is 100 cubic feet. So if you imagine an area that is 10 feet long by 10 feet wide and 1 foot deep, that is 1 CCF. And if you were to fill that area with water, it would take about 748 gallons. A kgal, on the other hand, is pretty simple. It's just 1,000 gallons. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a visual perspective as to the amount of water you use. If you look at your typical water over the course of a calendar year, you'll see that it resembles a bell curve with the peak use in the summer. If you have a cooling tower on your building, or if you have landscaping, both of these things use a significant amount of water in the summer to keep your building cool and your plants hydrated. When examining your water bill, you want to compare it to the previous month's usage as well as the same month in previous years. As Jennifer said, if you notice a spike, it could indicate a leak, and you'll want to investigate to see if there's a problem somewhere on your property. The bar chart on your screen shows the breakdown of water use in various types of commercial and institutional facilities. This data was gathered by the EPA, and it is representative of businesses across the country, so there might be a few minor differences compared to water use here locally in Arizona, but this will give you a general idea of where your water is being used. If we look specifically at the water use in office buildings, it's pretty evenly dispersed across the 4 categories of restrooms, cooling and heating, landscaping, and kitchen areas. There's a slight bump for water use in restrooms, which of course is dependent on the number of employees or customers that work at or visit the office building. Moving next to water use in restaurants, you'll see that more than half of the water used is for kitchen preparations and dishwashing. The other large use is for restroom facilities. We'll discuss in a few slides some easy ways to reduce water in both of these categories. I know there are some bed and breakfast owners that are LFA members. There might even be a few local LFA hotel owners, so we wanted to include this slide on water use at hotels as well. You'll see that nearly half of the water used at hotels is for restrooms and laundry. So when you look at your own facility, whether it's a restaurant, an office, a retail shop, or something else, think about where you use the most water and start with those areas first. The more water you can conserve, the less your water bill will be. And if you use hot water in any of those areas, you could potentially save even more money on your electricity bill since you won't be heating as much water. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Jennifer.
Thanks, Melissa. So now that we understand that water is used differently in different industries, how do you find out what's going on in your own business? There are 3 guides on the screen that can help you do that. The first one is Find and Fix Leaks That Are Draining Your Budget. This guide was put out by AMWA, the Arizona Municipal Water Users Association. In this handy guide, you can learn how to read your water meter, how to conduct outdoor and indoor visual leak inspections, how to conduct an isolation method to find continuous leaks, and also some other water efficiency tips for around the house. Now, just because it's designed for residential doesn't mean it wouldn't work for you and your business as well, depending on the size of your business and the location. The next guide is the WaterSense at Work EPA guide, that's best management practices for commercial institutional facilities. So this guide will have more information on larger properties and also on kitchens and labs and laundry and things like that that wouldn't be covered in the residential guide on the left. The next guide is the Commercial Kitchens Water Use Guide, put together by the Alliance for Water Efficiency. Now, this guide is not available to the public generally. It is available through membership for the Alliance for Water Efficiency, but today we are offering anyone who's tuned in a chance to get a copy of this guide. If you just send me an email, my email will be linked at the end, I'll be happy to send one out to you. This guide is more in depth on the different water uses and the water saving potential in kitchens. So as I mentioned, the other guides will help you find things and how the water is being used and perhaps leaks in your system. What you'll want to do is perform a self-audit. So what is a self-audit? A water audit examines all major areas where a facility uses water. Commercial water audits can be divided into 4 categories: leak detection, domestic indoor water use, non-domestic indoor water use, irrigation, and landscaping. So to perform a self-audit, first you'll want to do leak detection. In order to do that, you'll want to know how to read your meter. And that leak guide with the pig on the cover, that one will actually teach you how to read your water meter, if you have access to it for your facility. The next one, domestic indoor water use, perform a water use analysis for all domestic indoor features. So understand how much each of your fixtures use. Use the EPA's guide to understand how much your dishwasher should use, how much you can expect your toilets and urinals to use, and then get out there and take a look at those products as they're working. Non-domestic indoor water use will include things like cooling towers, as Melissa mentioned, as well as air compressors, boilers, steam systems. Those are high water use devices. So a leak or inappropriate running of those systems can cause a significant increase to your water bill. Use the EPA checklist linked on the screen to help you do a non-domestic indoor water use check. As far as irrigation and landscaping goes, you'll want to perform a water leak test on these devices. These include irrigation systems, pools, fountains, and other large water features. You can use Scottsdale Water's mini audit sheet linked below to help you go through and check each one of these.
All right, now that you've performed a self-audit at your facility, what are some ways you can conserve water indoors? One of the easiest ways is to upgrade to efficient fixtures and water-saving devices. I'll go into more detail on the next slide for what types of devices you might want to replace. Next, you'll want to check your toilet for leaks and avoid using in-tank toilet cleaners. Those toilet cleaners tend to decrease the life of toilet flappers, making them prone to leak. If you have a facility that has an area that doesn't get used very often, consider shutting off the area of water. That way, if a leak were to occur, it wouldn't go unnoticed for an extended period of time. Next, you'll want to determine where your water that's wasted is going. Do your customers or employees leave the sink running? Is your ice machine not operating efficiently? And finally, if possible, recycle your used water in other areas of your business. This could be something as simple as washing fruits and vegetables in a pot and then using that water to water your plants. Okay, so you've determined that some of your water fixtures need to be replaced. Now what? Look for the WaterSense label. When you see this label, you are assured that the fixture meets the EPA criteria for a lower water use device. You'll find these labels on all sorts of fixtures, from faucets to toilets and urinals, to pre-rinse spray valves and sink aerators. Keep in mind when shopping for an aerator, you want to select one that's nickel-plated brass and tamper-resistant, especially in customer use areas. Also, it's important to note that you don't necessarily want to add aerators to faucets where you'll be filling buckets or pots. It will just increase the amount of time to fill up your bucket, and you won't be using any less water in those instances anyway. Next, we move to water conservation in restaurants. Sometimes all it takes is a little bit of planning ahead. For instance, you will want to thaw your food in the refrigerator rather than under running water. Next, consider serving water on request. Rather than having water set out for everyone or serving water in addition to their soft drinks or tea, let your customers know that you're serving water on request as part of your conservation efforts. When you're cleaning dishes, first scrape the food from the plates and then use a pre-rinse spray valve prior to loading them in the dishwasher. ADWR currently has a Rinse Smart program where they are providing pre-rinse spray valves for free to customers in certain locations, so be sure to check if you qualify. If you unfortunately don't qualify for the program, check your local hardware store. Pre-rinse spray valves run in the neighborhood of $40 to $50, and they will pay for themselves in just a few months. If you have an outdoor seating area, only use misters when necessary and use timers. And finally, if you have a reverse osmosis system, make sure that it's set up correctly and that it's being properly maintained. An inefficient system will use more water than one is functioning properly. A few tips to conserve water outdoors include upgrading your fixtures to more efficient ones. This would include smart irrigation controllers and efficient spray nozzles. And rather than rinsing your sidewalks or floors, sweep them if possible. I know we previously told you that the Metro Phoenix area only receives about 7 to 8 inches of rain per year, but that's still plenty of water that can be reused elsewhere on your property using rainwater harvesting techniques. If you have a decorative fountain, put it on a timer and only use it during work or daylight hours when people are most likely to see and enjoy it. Also, make sure the water doesn't splash out of the fountain and turn off the fountain if it is windy. Some cities have water wasting ordinances, so be sure you are familiar with your city code. Lastly, check your evaporative coolers to make sure they are operating properly. Similar to a reverse osmosis system, you'll use less water when the evap coolers are running efficiently. Okay, now I'll turn it back over to Jennifer to go over some irrigation tips.
Okay, so in the valley, we say about 70%, up to 70% of our water use occurs outdoors. Now that typically is for a residential setting, but again, some businesses are going to fall into this category as well. So it's really important to check your irrigation. This is a great place to save on water. And what we tell people to do is to inspect the irrigation system twice. You'll want to get out there and walk around before it runs, before it has a chance to get everything wet. Take a look and see what you can find. See if you see any wet spots where you don't expect them to be. If that's the case, do a little investigating. You may have blown a sprinkler head or maybe missing a drip emitter, and make sure to replace those. Next, you'll want to go to your irrigation controller and turn it on and walk the system while the irrigation system is actually running. Here you'll be able to see a blown sprinkler pretty easily. You'll also be able to hear a missing drip emitter. You hear water flowing where you expect it to be dripping. Take a look. Usually it's underneath the plant and you're missing the drip emitter. You'll also want to look for clogged, broken, mismatched sprinkler heads. They are set to work together, the same type of sprinkler heads with the same type of intensity. If you mix it up, it could definitely change your irrigation system's efficiency. So get out there and make sure that it's the same. You'll also want to examine points where sprinkler heads and pipes connect together, especially sprinklers and grass. These are easily stepped on by people, pedestrians just walking around, or when the lawn's being mowed. So get out there and take a look at those. You'll also want to make sure that your sprinklers are directed into the landscape and not into the sidewalks or streets, as shown in the picture. Concrete isn't going to grow, so there's no reason for us to water it. Make sure that it's where it needs to be. You'll also want to upgrade your irrigation controller to a weather-based model. And we suggest WaterSense Label products. And you can go to the EPA site for WaterSense products listed earlier, and you can find irrigation controllers that meet this requirement. These systems will work with the weather to make sure that you are not overwatering or underwatering based on the weather conditions. You can also use the leak guide mentioned earlier, find and fix leaks that are draining your budget, with handy check sheets to take you through either an isolation method where you actually turn off on and off water sources, as well as just a visual inspection, as I mentioned at the beginning of the slide. So if you still need some more help conserving water, we have some more tips for you. You can check your water provider's website, definitely, for tips on upcoming water efficiency landscaping classes. You can also look for rebates. Some of the water providers offer rebates to residents and businesses. Just be sure to ask your water provider about current programs. If you're not familiar with your water provider's website, take a few minutes to search, and if you're still not sure, call. They're more than happy to explain their programs to you. You can find all the water providers for Water Use It Wisely partners on the Water Use It Wisely partner page, or you could simply just search for your water provider or look on your bill. You also want to check the Water Use It Wisely events calendar for classes, workshops, and events. Many of the water providers put together workshops that teach people about landscape efficiency as well as interior water efficiency. So while they might not be directed to businesses exactly, there are still some tips that you might be able to gain from attending these workshops and events. And for the most part, they are open even if you don't live within the city. Just check the website and contact the office to be sure. Again, visit EPA's WaterSense site for commercial facilities. This site has so many tips for the different types of businesses out there. There are just so many that we couldn't cover them. Melissa went over some of the ones in the beginning about hotels or restaurants, and there's so many businesses out there we couldn't begin to cover them all, so be sure to check out that link. Also, I mentioned earlier, subscribe to the Water Use It Wisely newsletter. We put together blogs 2 or 3 times a week, and then a couple times a month we send out a newsletter. Right now we're offering a $50 gift card to each to one new subscriber each month. So if you haven't already subscribed, be sure to do so. And then take a look at the website for the toolkit. Water Use It Wisely has an excellent toolkit with different types of ideas and tips to help you save water. Another way to save water is to engage your employees. So you could create a contest where you encourage your employees to maybe compete against each other to see who can come up with the best water conservation measures for your business. You could add water conservation tips to your monthly newsletter. You could encourage your employees to sign up for Water Use It Wisely's e-newsletter. You could also place a tip line sticker where leaks are likely to occur. So if you have it at like a bathroom where you can put a line up in there, a phone number or an email or something, that says, if you see a leak, please let us know. Because maybe you don't go into that location very often, but you have customers or employees, they can let you know what's going on. You can also use water conservation as an employee goal. So when you're looking at ways to measure your employees on their performance, consider sustainability or water conservation as a goal to help make your business more sustainable. Make monthly leak checks routine. Create a list of areas that need to be checked every single month. And you can delegate those out to your staff if you have them, or just put it as part of your monthly routine that you go around and make sure that these things are running as you expect them to. And last, you can form a water conservation committee. So depending on the size of your business, you could get people together to think about ways that water conservation or sustainability might work within your own business. Another great way to save water is to tell your water conservation story. So if you are telling people what you're doing, perhaps you're going to incite them to do the same thing. So one of the ways you can do it is with a blog. Now, Water Use It Wisely has a blog, and we also look for guest bloggers. So if you're interested in telling your water conservation story, go to wateruseitwisely.com and search for blog guidelines. Put it on your own blog. Get it out there on social media. Share it with your customers and get other people to share it for you. It's a great way to promote not only water conservation, but your business as well. And again, e-newsletters is another way to just let everybody know what's going on. You can tell your employee base, this is what we've been doing to save water. Here's the employees that have helped to do this. Here's our water usage where it's come down because we've done certain measures, things like that. And as I mentioned, let us know if you're doing some water conservation efforts in your business, because it's something that we might be able to share on Water Use It Wisely social media or on our blog. So we have an upcoming event. We've partnered with Local First Arizona for their Fall Fest, and we will have a booth there. It is on Saturday, November 4th, at the Margaret T. Hance Park in downtown Phoenix. The event runs from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. and we'll be out there with our booth giving away some water conservation trinkets and also information and brochures. And you can come ask your water conservation questions to water conservation staff. We will be there all day. And so here's some more links for you. The leaks guide that I mentioned before, it's just linked again. The EPA's WaterSense at Work guide, linked there. Commercial Kitchens Guide. Again, if you would like a copy of that, please send me an email and I'm happy to send one to you. And then go to the Water Use It Wisely partner page to find out all about Water Use It Wisely's partners. And with that, I'll go ahead and close it and say thank you to Local First Arizona for letting us participate in this webinar. And we hope to see you at the event, and we hope to see you on Water Use It Wisely's newsletter. Thank you.